Professor in the Department of History at UNISA, Chitja Twala, joins us for more. Professor Twala, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we've just listened there about how critical a summit this is, and of course that it last took place in 2022 without the presidents. This time around, presidents will be in South Africa, and as we look at the timing of the summit, and the grappling challenges that the world is facing, what do you make of it?
Thank you very much, Mpo, for having me today. I think it is important also for the liberation movements to converge and to redeem themselves amidst the challenges that are facing the globe. And those challenges that are impacting on the African continent itself. Therefore, the summit itself comes at a crucial time and at an opportune time that these leaders should come together and map a road and have a roadmap in terms of what they would want to see in their respective countries to deal with these challenges that they are faced with. Importantly, historically, we cannot at any point rule out the role played by the liberation movements in the decolonization of the continent and in the demise of apartheid. And perhaps if these leaders are converging today, they might come in this dialogue with the outcomes, and the outcomes that might be helpful to the continent in order for the continent to be resuscitated and to be re-Africanized and to move forward into a true African way and with African values in dealing with governance and leadership on the African continent.
As you say that, I mean, in looking at the performance of the liberation movements in Southern Africa, they seem to have perhaps lost their political mojo, with electoral support for former freedom fighters dwindling across the regions. Where are they missing the mark as they come together to try to table some sort of solutions? You know, where are the grey areas?
I think there is a disjuncture between the leadership of the former liberation movements come political parties in their respective countries and the electorate or the citizenry. And that is important. What is said in the upper echelons of the leadership should be cascaded down to the people on the ground. And then the missing link, it is that about the youth. You know, I am teaching history, and the youth will tell you, and students will tell you that we have heard enough about the credentials of the liberation movement, but we've got bread and butter issues that we need to grapple with at this point in time. How are we assisted in that regard? If then our leaders, when they are converging, can take a look and have an introspection in terms of what is that gap, and that gap needs to be closed as soon as possible. One, the issue of unemployment is critical. And then secondly, the issue of access to services, it is also important across all the SADC region and the continent of Africa itself. People are lamenting about the basic services. If we can arrest such services as the countries, then we are heading for the right direction. And then people are sick and tired also of saying we are voting, but our votes do not matter in terms of the basics and the infrastructure. Therefore, we need to move towards that direction and embrace what is of bread and butter for our people to come back to the fold.
I'm glad you touched on youth, because as we now make an example and analyze the performance of claimed modern liberation movements like the military rule of Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traoré, the world's youngest president, I think at 36, which claims to be working towards true independence from France and the West. I mean, his popularity has soared since his ascension to power. What's your take on that?
I think Ibrahim Traoré is doing wonderful work in Burkina Faso. If you go to the West, for an example, the deep-rooted roots of colonialization and colonialism are still found there. You can see it. I visited one university, Cheikh Anta Diop University in Senegal. And at that university, I was so shocked that when we wanted to meet with some staff members, they couldn't speak English. They could only speak French. And I said to myself, then there is a problem, because here are the people who are claiming to have been decolonized, but they are still clinging to the very same French as a language of communication and a language of instruction at the university. And Cheikh Anta Diop University is one of the biggest universities. I think Ibrahim is taking the continent to the right direction, and some of our leaders should also follow suit. And because Ibrahim is a youngster, is a young president, and being young, he also taps into the aspirations and the expectations of the youth. And that is what is needed at this point in time on the continent.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Wrapping up that conversation with Professor in the Department of History at UNISA, Professor Chitja Twala.